Which Side Podcast is a proud member of the Which Side Media Collective.
This is episode 230.
Yeah, we talk with Wendy from the Nomadic Vegan.
But first, here's our side.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
So we've recently both been to Las Vegas for completely separate things, right? Mm-hmm. And Vegas has fucking changed a ton over the years. I remember the first time we went together, you were not even 21 yet.
Was I not?
I don't believe so. And the only thing we could find on this trip to eat was Chipotle and Subway.
Sounds like it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking atrocious. Now you go there, and it's almost like you're tripping over things. Like you have choices at every corner. It's freaking amazing. So, you went a little bit before I did. Mm-hmm. What were some of the staples that you always go to, that you went to, and then what are some of the newer ones?
Well, first stop's always Ronald's.
God, that's right. You pull in, it's the first place you go.
Exactly, and it's the last place you go as well.
You know, we didn't get to go on our way out because we were there for Memorial Day, and we were leaving on Memorial Day, and they were closed.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
So you got like one donut?
Yeah, no, one donut.
It's awful.
It was a delicious fucking donut, though. So I had never seen them there before. It was their cinnamon roll, but then they put maple on top, and then crushed nuts on top of that.
Wow.
Oh my God, it was fucking delicious.
You could eat it? It was nuts you could eat?
Yeah, no walnuts, so it was good.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always a staple, vegan donuts, and they're so kind always. Whenever you order, they always give you some donut holes for the road.
Yes. It's a cash-only establishment, so just know that going there. Make sure to have some cash on you. But they have cream-filled donuts. They have just every normal donut shop. Gotta check them out. It's amazing.
And a couple years ago, when Wynn first opened, I wanted to try the Wynn burger.
Yeah.
I only mention that because you don't have to go there to try it. You should instead go to Veganuary because it's not owned by Wynn, and you can get a milkshake and a burger way cheaper and not from a fuck.
So I went there when we were there too. It's basically going to an In-N-Out for a vegan.
Yeah.
Right? It's all vegan.
Drive-through.
They have drive-through, very simple left-side menu. You have a couple, like 3 different burgers. They have a chicken burger, a fish burger,
chicken
poppers thingies, right?
And milkshakes.
Yes. Delicious milkshakes.
And like, if you're cheap like me, you can get Groupon coupon and get like a 2 for $14 value kind of thing, and you just fill up and stuff yourself sick.
You know, one of the things I loved about going there is that I feel a lot of newer vegan places kind of are, I don't want to say cheaping out, but they are just using, products that we can all buy at home and then selling them in the restaurant, which is great to have that convenience. But it's one of the things I liked about Veganuary. It wasn't just like a standard Boca burger or, one of the Beast burgers or something like that. It's their actual own proprietary burger that is amazing. It is really, really good.
I got the double.
You got the double? I got the single. I didn't go for the double.
Yeah, like I said, I stuffed myself full. We got the poppers, the double.
We got the poppers. Exactly. If you're looking for more of the South American flair, there's a new all-vegan place called Pancho's Vegan Tacos, which was to die for.
I haven't tried it yet.
The biggest plate of nachos I've ever had in my fucking life, and it was amazing, and it was delicious, super friendly staff. I had, enchiladas.
Nice.
Oh, God, it was so good.
I want that now.
Yeah. And it wasn't just like crap nachos. I say that in all, nachos, sometimes you go and then it's just, some chips and sprinkle some Daya on it. That's not the case here. Like, it was loaded
Loaded to the chip.
Loaded to the chip. It was amazing. And it's all vegan, so you don't have to worry about it. Super nice. When we were there, they actually had coupons at Ronald's for ponchos.
Nice.
So,
save your money.
there you go. Go to Ronald's first and then
Go
head
to
over
Vegas
to Ponchos.
on the cheap.
Ponchos also had Ronald's Donuts in their store. They had a couple you could buy as desserts
cool.
as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's really awesome of them.
Yeah.
One of the things that we're always looking for is breakfast places,
Mhm.
right? They seems to be one of the harder things to get when you're traveling as a vegan, right?
And for me, I always just ate the Ronald's Donuts in the morning and called it good.
I'm not a breakfast person.
Uh-huh.
I very rarely ever eat breakfast. But we found this Waffle House that has vegan waffles, huge vegan options. It's not vegan only, but super friendly. Called Tiabi.
It's an acronym.
It's an acronym. Check it out. You really need to go there. I didn't eat the waffles myself, but my daughter, she loved them. They had, what do you call it? They had vegan whipped cream and everything on them. You can get them loaded. But they had a milk oolong tea. I don't know if people are familiar with milk oolongs. There's no dairy in them.
But it says milk in it.
And it was the second best cup of tea I've ever had in my fucking life.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I mean
saying
that
something.
it was amazing. We stopped on our way out of town, and I almost wanted to stay another hour just to have another cup.
Wow.
It was that good.
That's
Yeah.
saying something because you're a tea snob.
No, I am a fucking tea snob. I'm totally acknowledging it, and it wasn't pricey. It was normal price tea.
Wow.
They have a bunch of loose leaf teas there, so that's what I can speak to because I didn't eat the waffles.
Mhm.
But that tea, it was so amazing.
And you tried Veggie Nation too.
I did go to Veggie Nation. I would recommend people to go to Veggie Nation. Not my cup of tea.
It's kind of how I feel too. It reminds me if you've been to Watercourse in Denver or someplace like that.
It's good vegan food.
Mm-hmm.
Just not the kind of vegan food I'm always looking for.
Yeah.
I'm more into ethnic kind of foods.
Me too. Yeah,
so
definitely.
But you definitely need to check them out. They're doing some great things.
I tried the Nochi pot pie and Mari tried the curry, and they were both good.
We had the chicken and waffles there. It was good. I mean, I definitely recommend people going there. But there's just so many options there now. Make sure you plan it out so you can hit all of these amazing spots. And now, here's the Nomadic Vegan. Well, what was happening in your life that made you want to start actually exploring veganism? Like, what was going on that made you start that research?
Yeah, the first thing that started me on the journey was I listened to an online summit, a web summit that happens every year. It actually just finished now. It's called the Food Revolution Summit. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before. Yeah. So it's put on by John and Ocean Robbins. John Robbins, who is the author of Diet for a New America, and his son, Ocean. And so every year they bring together a number of experts. I mean, it's mostly focusing on the health aspects of veganism. And I guess I honestly have no idea how I came across that summit to begin with. But that was what first, put the idea in my brain. That was when I first heard about the benefits of a plant-based diet. I don't think I'd ever heard the term plant-based diet before then. But so I started hearing about the health benefits, and then also a little bit about the animals. And the interview in that summit that really stuck with me the most was an interview with Alicia Silverstone, the actress, who I had kind of a girl crush on growing up. Like, I'm basically the same age as her, so I, watched her in the movies and in the videos and kind of idolized her. So most of these doctors I'd never heard of before, Caldwell Esselstyn and T. Colin Campbell, I had no idea who these old white guys were, but I knew who Alicia Silverstone was. And so when she was speaking, then I really paid attention, and she was speaking about the ethics and about the animals. And then a few days after that, I happened to come across her book in a used book sale. She has a book called The Kind Diet. And so I picked it up, and that's what really started me on the journey.
So I'm always been really jealous of people who actually know their veganversary.
Right?
I have no clue. I know about-ish the time of year. That's as close as I get. Did you ever do anything special for it?
Yeah, the first year we were on a hike, actually, in the Alps. We went hiking, and I remember I baked myself a little single-serving cake that I could eat while we were hiking because I knew that, we were in the French Alps and I wasn't ever going to be able to find a vegan cake, but I wanted to have a little cake to celebrate my Veganuary, so I cooked one myself and brought it with me. Yeah, I don't make a huge deal about it, but, it is important to me, and it's definitely a date that I remember when it comes around. So how long have you been vegan then? I know you don't know exactly, but more or less?
So, Jeremy, this is me. I'm about 23 years.
Wow, that's fabulous.
Jordan?
I don't really know. I'm somewhere between 15 and 20. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
I really don't remember.
5 years just disappeared somewhere.
Well, I was so young.
Yeah, I wish I had the fortitude to actually document it now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I only remember because I got into an argument with my mom. I was 13 at the time, so I was pretty young.
Well,
and I just remember being in the argument, and it was warm outside, so I know it was summertime.
Yeah, I don't think I knew what vegan was when I was 13. I'm 41 now, so it took a long time for me to really discover it. And it definitely wasn't. That being said, I did experiment with vegetarianism a few times when I was younger. So the first time was my freshman year of college. I went vegetarian for, 8 or 9 months. And then I did it later in life as well. But again, it was travel that kind of, made me think, oh, this is too difficult while I'm traveling, so I'm not going to do this anymore. I wasn't really committed to it, and I hadn't researched it enough. I didn't really understand. It just hadn't clicked for me, and I had no idea at that point about the dairy and egg industries and all of the horrible things that go on in those industries. I really thought that they were harmless, that, eggs and cow's milk were harmless products. So I had a lot to learn then, but I think it was always there in the back of my mind somewhere. On some level, I wasn't comfortable with eating animals. It just took me a long time to figure it out.
So you've gone to almost 100 countries, is that correct?
Yeah, it actually is exactly 100 now.
Oh, okay.
So I probably need to update that on the website somewhere. But Malta was my 100th country, which I visited just a month or two ago.
So in all of your travels, and I'm assuming not all of those were when you were vegan, but
no.
With all of the ones that you have been vegan, what's been the most surprising as far as the ease and, the quality of food and different things, like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Greece is definitely up there, in part because, like I said, that was the first time that I had tried it. And so I was so pleasantly surprised to find that it was much easier than I had expected. But it turns out that I did choose a really good kind of entry-level country because Greece is a very vegan-friendly country. Not because there's a strong vegan movement there, because there isn't really, although it is growing, but the traditional cuisine just naturally has a lot of vegan dishes as part of the cuisine. And a lot of that, this is coming back to religion again, but a lot of it is because of the Greek Orthodox Church, which prescribes certain days of the calendar as fasting days, which means that people follow what is more or less a vegan diet. They don't eat any meat or dairy or eggs, but they do eat honey, and they don't eat fish, but they eat certain other aquatic animals, like they'll eat squid or shrimp, for example. But apart from that, on fasting days, they're essentially eating vegan on those days, and there are about 150 fasting days in the calendar. So, we're talking about almost half the year if people are really following it, strictly. which a lot of people do, then yeah, they're eating vegan for much of the year. And so not surprisingly, there are lots of vegan dishes.
So I'd be considered a really good
Faster?
Orthodox. Yeah, because I've been fasting for years.
Yeah, totally.
That's funny. Yeah, I didn't know that like that was considered fasting. I usually thought like fasting was just omitting food entirely.
Yeah, just not eating at all. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, there are different types of fasting and different, fasting traditions in different religions. So, for example, in Islam, Ramadan, for the month of Ramadan, every year, people do fast and they don't eat anything and they also don't drink anything, not even water. But that's only from sunrise to sunset. So what basically happens is as soon as the sun goes down, then there's like a huge feast and, people just gorge themselves. And then they'll also like get up, just before dawn and gorge themselves again so that they can then go the rest of the day without eating. So yeah, there are different ways of doing it. And yeah, certainly it sounds strange for me to say that eating vegan is considered fasting because that's just considered eating as far as I'm concerned. But if you look at a lot of different religious traditions, they do have some form of fasting, of restricting food in some way, whether it's all food or just particular foods. And if it's just particular foods, then it usually is the animal products, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I gorge at night too, so I got this down.
Yeah.
So, of the places that you've been, what's like the most difficult?
I mean, honestly, nothing has been really difficult. I've never gone hungry, and I've never had to just cave in and eat something non-vegan because I felt like I was going to starve otherwise. But, definitely some places are easier than others. I would say France is probably on the more difficult end of the spectrum. Although I've heard that Paris is just booming now in terms of vegan restaurants opening up there. It used to be really bad, and now suddenly in the past few years, I've heard that lots more is opening up. So that's exciting. And that's happening really around the world. But yeah, France in general, first of all, the traditional cuisine doesn't have many vegan options. Although in the South, it's a little bit better. That's more of a Mediterranean climate, and so there is more of a Mediterranean diet. But up in the north of France, certainly it's very meat and dairy heavy. And then you have the added difficulty of, how do I say it politely?
You don't have to be polite.
Well, the service industry doesn't really work in France the way it does in the U.S., where, the customer is not king and they're not necessarily going to bend over backwards to accommodate you and do things the way that you want them to. So they're generally not that keen on taking special requests in restaurants. At least, I mean, to be honest, that hasn't really been my experience. On a couple of occasions it has, but I have been to places in France where the chef was more than willing to make a dish for me. Now, whether or not he actually had enough vegetables in the kitchen to make something was another matter altogether. But a lot of French chefs and, restaurant staff that I've personally encountered have been accommodating, but I do hear lots of complaints from people who have said, they've asked, oh, well, could you leave the cheese off of this? And they're like, no, we don't do that here. Yeah, which, I've run into on occasion myself, like, again, up in the mountains, like I said, I used to live in Switzerland, so I used to go skiing a lot in the Swiss Alps and also the French Alps. And I remember one time in particular when, I'm up on the top of a mountain and their options are pretty limited. And they just weren't willing to do anything that wasn't already on the menu. So I ended up with French fries and a side salad, which was like lettuce and tomato, and that was it. And I asked, do you have anything else that you might be able to add into the salad? No, we don't do that. Which I had kind of prepared for the worst. I knew that something like that might happen. So I had brought snacks with me, like nuts and dried fruit, and I think I might have brought a vegan sausage or something. And then the waiter actually had the nerve to get annoyed at me for eating my nuts at the table. He's like, "You can't bring outside food in here." And I'm like, "Are you serious? You just told me that you don't have anything for me except fries and a salad, and then you're going to get mad at me for eating here when you can't provide food for me yourself." Anyway, so I would have to say that, France is probably one of the more difficult, but I've had lots of positive experiences in France too. So I think it's possible to travel vegan pretty much anywhere, apart from, I don't know, if you want to go live in Siberia with reindeer herders for 6 months, then you might have a problem. But if anywhere that most people are going to travel on vacation, you can always find a way to make it work.
I remember I went to the Andes, and this was like over a decade ago, and basically the only thing that people had up there were milk and potatoes. And so I was just eating a lot of potatoes and sometimes rice. But it was getting the job done.
Potatoes, sometimes rice.
Sometimes rice, yeah.
Yeah, well, didn't some YouTuber do a potato cleanse and eat nothing but potatoes for 30 days or something like that?
It was like almost a year.
Oh, maybe it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember that, and then they're like, "Yeah, I still like potatoes," after the whole thing was over.
I mean, I eat potatoes almost every day.
No.
Yeah, potatoes are great.
Yeah.
I think what it was is that they were, the potatoes and the milk were both like complementary to each other, and it gave you the entire balanced nutrition that you needed. Obviously, I was omitting the milk, so I was just getting potatoes for my time. But I mean, now.
I think I've heard that as far as protein goes, that potatoes do have more or less the amount of protein that we need, because of course we need a lot less than most people think we need. I guess you probably weren't getting much fat, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't a balanced diet. So if you tried to do that for months on end, then it would probably come back to haunt you. But I mean, I take a multivitamin pill every day, just as kind of a precaution. So, your body can handle those kinds of setbacks if it's just a few days that you're talking about before you're able to get some more fruits and veggies into you.
I'm really bad. I just eat potatoes all the time, and I don't take a multivitamin.
No.
So how did you get hooked up with Happy Cow to do the 9 steps of easy vegan travel?
Yeah, I had actually written 9 Steps of Easy Vegan Travel is an ebook that I've produced in collaboration with Happy Cow, and it's offered on their website for free. It's a free download that anyone can get. And I had actually written an earlier version of that book that I was offering just on my own site on the nomadicvegan.com. And I did a bit of guest posting, so I posted a few articles on the Happy Cow blog, and then Eric Brent, the CEO and founder of Happy Cow, I guess noticed that I had this book, and he was the one who reached out to me and said, I've been thinking about doing something like that for a long time, but just haven't gotten around to it, so maybe we can do this together. So, yeah, that was a great, I was really thankful for him for reaching out, because it meant that now a lot more people have access to the book.
So what are some good tips for an inexperienced vegan traveler, or even the experienced vegan traveler?
Yeah, well, I would honestly say that the most important is going into it with a positive mindset and, just expecting to find something, because if you go in expecting to find abundance, then that's what you're going to find. Whereas if you go in thinking that you're not going to find anything and you're just going to end up eating potatoes every night, then you probably will. I'm not saying that was the reason that you ate potatoes was because you didn't have a positive mindset.
He doesn't.
But I do think that attitude goes a really long way in terms of, us shaping our own experiences and the way that we view the world around us, how that affects our experiences. So I would say that's really my number one. And then there are lots of, more practical tips that I could give too. Like, for example, a lot of people ask me a lot of times about communicating in other languages, or if you're in a foreign country where you don't speak the language, how do you explain to someone that you're vegan? And there are lots of tools nowadays that can help you do that. The one that I use the most often is called the Vegan Passport, which is put out by the Vegan Society in the UK. And nowadays they have both a paperback version and also a smartphone app. So I just have it on my app, on my phone. For a long time it was just the hard copy. So it was a little booklet, and it's basically a multilingual phrase booklet for vegans. And so it explains in 79 different languages what a vegan doesn't eat and then what they do eat. It doesn't just translate the phrase "I am vegan" in 79 different languages, because in many cultures that just wouldn't be understood. The concept is not even known. But it explains it pretty clearly and lists, several different examples of foods. Like I said, not just the foods that we don't eat, but also the ones that we do, to show people, hey, do you have rice? Do you have pasta? Or, beans or vegetables? Could you make me something with those ingredients? So that can be a really useful tool. Although I would always recommend that people do make an effort to learn a few words of the language and probably try first with that. And if you're having problems communicating, then resort to the Vegan Passport, because the locals really do appreciate it if they see that you're trying to make an effort to speak their language.
So speaking of languages, you actually know quite a few, right?
Well, yeah, I do. I would say I speak 6 languages, although my 6th is Mandarin Chinese, which is really rusty nowadays because, unfortunately, I haven't been practicing it on a regular basis for probably a couple years now, and I find that I'm forgetting it really quickly. And then the other languages that I speak are much more closely related to English. They're all Romance languages, so Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Italian. I've always loved languages, and actually started as a Spanish major in college and then switched to Portuguese, and then worked as a translator for a number of years with the UN. So yeah, I do have a strong background in languages, which obviously does help with traveling and communicating.
Thank you so much for being on. How can people find out what you're doing and see your work?
Well, you can check out my website, which is thenomadicvegan.com. So you can also download the ebook that I mentioned before, 9 Steps for Easy Vegan Travel. It's available on the Happy Cow website, but also on my website. And I'll soon be coming out with my first full-length book that'll be both an ebook and a paperback, and that's called Veggie Planet: Uncover the Vegan Treasures Hiding in Your Favorite World Cuisines. So it basically highlights many of the naturally vegan dishes that are part of 11 of the world's most famous cuisines, and shows just how vegan-friendly those cuisines really are. So that'll be coming out in July 21st. So yeah, it's available on Amazon. And like I said, pre-order up until July 21st if you want to get those bonuses. And then otherwise, I'm on social media. I mostly do Facebook and Instagram, but I'm also on Twitter. So I'm Nomadic Vegan on Facebook and Nomadic_Vegan on Instagram and Twitter. So you can always find me there.
Which Side Podcast is hosted and produced by Jordan Halliday and Jeremy Parkin of the Which Side Media Collective, with web design by Jordan Halliday and sound design by Jeremy Parkin. Booking by Mari Halliday. Go to whichsidecollective.org to check out the other shows in the collective. As always,
Hey, this is Wendy from the Nomadic Vegan. Fuck shit damn.